Good morning, everybody, and a happy Saturday morning to you. Oh my goodness, this is another super long video because there's just so much information. Let's just jump in and get busy, shall we? Let's go. We're starting off with Princess Catherine, the Princess of Wales. Josh Skinner, he is a photographer, and he just shared a never-before-seen photo of the princess. He posted it on May 29th, and it's Catherine standing outdoors, arms, casually crossed, looking directly into the lens with her green eyes meeting the camera. And when you look at the picture, you see like a quiet strength. And then, of course, behind her, she's framed by the greenery of the trees in the background. And he captured the image and said, "Excellent company for a sunny, leafy stroll," and gave a warm thanks to Catherine herself. Well, people recognized this outfit she was wearing. It was when she was with William in the Ardura Community Forest with the Ranger Service and the Young Nature Explorers. For those of you who are unaware, Catherine usually takes the pictures of the kids, but it was Josh Skinner who took this recent birthday photo of Prince Louis. And he also took this 2023 Christmas card picture of the family. Obviously, he's a fabulous photographer. All right, let's keep moving on. All right, I want to give it up for the Coldstream Guards because what you guys may not know is that one of them actually collapsed during the Brigade Major's review at the Horse Guards Parade in London on May 29th. There were 1,000 soldiers and almost 200 horses from the Household Division that were paraded, and apparently it was really hot, and you're in this full uniform, and the guy passed out. Not only was it really hot there, apparently, they were also faced with wearing for a prolonged period of time this huge bearskin headdress that they wear, which almost weighs 2 pounds all by itself. Amazing. All right, let's move on. All right, let's move on now. This I don't get this, but okay. Earl Spencer, who we know is Diana's younger brother, says that he has been left absolutely stunned because at the estate where Diana grew up, somebody set fire to a farmhouse at the Althorpe estate. They burned it down. It's been targeted by vandals in the past, but this time they let it afire. Now, Charles wrote that he was stunned to learn that one of the farmhouses, which was, thank God, unoccupied at the time, was apparently burnt down by vandals, and thanks to the, fire department for doing their best. And how sad is it that somebody thinks that this is a fun thing to do? Now, what's been left of the farmhouse has been knocked to the ground at this point for safety reasons, they said. And the fire and rescue service actually said that they were staying on scene after the fire. And at the height of the fire, 4 crews with breathing apparatus and, jets had to come and try to put this thing out yet. All right. Let's move on now. We know that the Beckham's, son, Brooklyn, and his wife met with Harry and Meghan. So, of course, they took a leaf out of Harry and Meghan's book and they've started attacking Victoria and David Beckham. Here's what they are now claiming: that Victoria Beckham ruined her son's wedding because apparently what happened was Mark Anthony, who's a Grammy Award-winning singer, took to the stage to perform, and before the song, he asked Brooklyn to come up on the stage, and then he announced, "The most beautiful woman in the room tonight, come on up, Victoria Beckham." The bride ran from the room crying and was hurt and said that the whole room watched her run, and Victoria did this on purpose, and it was a pre-planned romantic dance meant for Brooklyn and Nicola, and the bride couldn't understand why, Victoria did this to her at her wedding. Just a few little tidbits of information for you. First of all, the first magazine to report this was People, which is Harry and Meghan's go-to magazine. Number 2, Mark Anthony is a friend of the Beckhams, and he offered to perform as a gift at the wedding, so it was free. Number 3, they're claiming that the whole room witnessed this and was so shocked that the whole room was in complete silence and shock. You could hear a pin drop. That's what's being claimed. And guests were more surprised when Victoria actually ran up and started dancing with her son. Now, of course, the other side of the story has started to come out, and what you find is that the information was twisted and turned, just like Harry and Meghan do. Apparently, Victoria Beckham has come out and said that she's absolutely mystified by claims that she ruined her son's wedding because the newlyweds had had their first dance and a second. And then Nicola had to traditional dance with her father. It was much later in the evening that Mark Anthony performed. Lots of people got up to dance. And then Brooklyn and Victoria had the dance, as did David and his daughter, Harper. So everyone was upset as to why Nicola was so upset. So there you go. Brooklyn and his wife apparently shared their first and second dances to live renditions of Only Fools Rush In and Stand By Me. Now, a separate insider is saying that those were just dances that were for photos, and the actress was still wearing her wedding dress. It was meant to be a precursor to the real dancing that would take place so basically the bride wanted 3 or 4 first dances with her husband, and she got jealous. This is what I think happened. She got jealous because Victoria had the mother-son dance. So you get where this is going. So these two already had their first and second dance, and she already danced with her dad. And now she's claiming that this other dance, this was supposed to be the special romantic big dance that was known and planned and choreographed. And it was a 6-figure investment in the band, a lot of planning, and everybody in the families, and both families knew that this was supposed to be their big moment. And Victoria chose to do this. I mean, are you kidding? Yeah, they've definitely pulled a leaf out of Harry and Meghan's book. They twist the truth. Ugh, disgusting. Let's move on. All right, let's move on to our Harry and Meghan stuff. One of the things I wanted to touch on was, don't forget that Harry said they have been embraced by their new neighbors. Articles are coming out saying that their neighbors have actually claimed that the two of them have made no effort to fit in with their community ever since they moved into the neighborhood. And they are saying that Harry is much more approachable than Meghan when they see her out in public. According to this article, she's there, but she shows herself very little. Her relationship with Montecito is distant, and she cultivates a very controlled image. She pays attention, they said, to every appearance, every word, every gesture. And in contrast, they're saying Harry is always very charming and approachable, and he has, that accent that's so very recognizable, and he smiles and shakes hands, and he's willing to exchange a few words. They also said that various neighbors have spotted Harry at the beach in an organic coffee shop or cycling in the hills, and he seems to be, somewhat good-natured. Not the same with Meghan. Let's be honest, people. She doesn't want to mingle with the riffraff. You're not a billionaire. She's not interested in anybody who hasn't got a lot of money and who can help her with her career. That's it. Talking about her career, you'll find this interesting. Apparently, after she had wrapped up Confessions of a Female Founder, Meghan is claiming she got a call from an, quote, iconic fashion designer, and that there's going to be a bonus episode next week. And what it says is, quote, we had just wrapped Confessions of a Female Founder and packed up the mics when a call came in that we couldn't ignore. On the line was one of the most influential and inspiring matriarchs in culture today. Naturally, we hit record. So next week, we've got one more special interview for you, a bonus episode, because when a matriarch calls, and when this matriarch calls, you answer. Now, for those of you who don't recognize that name that flashed across your screen, that is Beyonce's mother. I don't believe that woman just suddenly called her up and said, I want to go on your show. I don't believe that for a second. I think somebody called in a favor. Remember, she's still being represented by WME, even though they haven't been able to help her at all with anything. Now, it's funny how she'll do something for Beyonce's mom. She's still trying to get to Jennifer Aniston. Apparently, she's still on the top of her list. She's been love bombing her with gifts, her jam, everything in the world to try to win her over because they're in the same Montecito area. She even sent her wellness products, if you can imagine, to try to establish some sort of a connection, but it's very clear that Jennifer Aniston wants absolutely nothing to do with Meghan. Smart move on her part, I think. All right, really quickly, I want to thank this person on Twitter for their help. Remember Meghan put up this picture on Instagram from As Ever, and she's showing her toes and her very, very expensive shoes. Well, this is what I found interesting and what this Twitter person found interesting. You see how she's got that second toe that's so much longer? Well, she's photoshopped it out. Come on. One other thing, you can't help but notice that all these vegetables from the garden have no dirt, no bruising, no marks. They're perfectly curated. You get what I'm saying? I mean, come on, people. I also need to point out that it's way too early in the season for a lot of those vegetables to be grown in her garden. You don't harvest corn in May. I don't care where you live. Also, the peppers. She probably went to the local farmer's market. Now, that picture, again, was put up right after she made the cryptic comments about taking a step back to think about the brand's future. So then she puts up this picture. Mia is the beagle that supposedly is looking at the fresh vegetables, which we know did not come from her garden. Anyway, so she puts this up. Now they're saying that they're going to release collections seasonably. And so it's the first one, including Meghan's raspberry spread and the honey and stuff. But in the new interview, she said she would not be restocking right away. Now, obviously, something weird is going on because what they're saying now is that Meghan is going to be focusing on her podcast and she's still looking at the different products she wants to sell. We never really know what's going on with her, but it's pretty obvious that something bad is going on and she just wants you to think that she's, reassessing. Let's keep going. Oh my goodness. Okay, a royal expert has spoken out and basically said that Meghan has never had to write a resume. Let's be honest. She said, I think the lens through which she views the world is very particular. She's trying to position herself as a champion of women and trying to shoehorn this particular niche view of the world into something that's a bit more nuanced and complicated. And it's like, you don't need to do that. You married a prince. Just give us the tea. That's all we need. She doesn't see it. The rest of the world sees it, which is she has a rich husband, which is absolutely true. I mean, besides the nasty looks and the face drops that we always see, they're basically mocking her for being a quote-unquote hot girl who married the prince. I'm sorry, I don't think she's all that hot. Meghan is saying is she wouldn't know how to describe herself professionally anymore because since she stepped down as a senior member of the royal family in 2020, she has the Netflix show With Love Meghan. She has the lifestyle brand As Ever. She has the failed podcast Archetypes. She has the other podcast, which is also a failure, Confessions of a Female Founder. And she said, if I had to write a resume, I don't know what I would call myself. And they're like, please stop trying to be something you aren't, which is what she's trying to do. Let me clarify for you just so you get it. They're saying that her projects are low risk because she has a rich husband. She's not risking anything by starting all these companies, like other people. She can go out and start a company. If it fails, who cares? Whereas other people have to put their whole life savings in to start a company. Does that make sense what I'm saying, or what they're saying, I should say? Now, interestingly enough, while we're talking about Meghan's resume, one other thing, her old resume suddenly resurfaced, and this has to be really old because Suits isn't even listed on this thing, but I am concerned that she put down her height is 5'3" and her weight 113. That is so unhealthy. And then this came out from the internet where she uploaded it herself, and she put herself down as Caucasian, just an FYI. All right, I have two more things to touch on. Number one, they're saying that Harry has totally lost his identity since he left the army, and his only purpose now seems to be revolving around himself, because let's face it, he was in the army for 10 years, and then of course he had his honorary title stripped, and so he's lost his sense of purpose. And so he was so hoping to find, as one of the world's hottest, most powerful power couples, he was hoping that he would find his place again. But of course, we know he hasn't. Instead, he's become the spare. Now, finally, we know that when Meghan went on her first date with Harry, she wore Diana's favorite perfume. We know that she's adopted a lot of Diana's mannerisms, the way Diana dressed, the way Diana spoke. So when Harry, who was such a sucker, he got sucked in, told the BBC that Diana would have been over the moon about his relationship with Meghan and they would have been as thick as thieves, that the sisters were not actually agreeing with that. Harry just assumed that Diana's family and friends would see the similarities between Diana and his fiance, and he was extremely disappointed. No one agreed that his mother, who was so vulnerable, had anything in common with his girlfriend. And more discomforting for him, they actually warned Harry that Meghan was not going to be a good fit with the royal family. And even Charles, Spencer, warned Harry about, maybe you shouldn't marry her. Why don't you slow things down? And his advice really angered Harry. And he said, it was so hard to establish Meghan's place in the family. So even though the family didn't see anything and nobody else seemed to see anything, and then that docu-series, he even said, and I'm quoting, "So much of what Meghan is and how she is so similar to my mum. She has the same compassion, the same empathy, the same confidence, the same warmth." Doesn't anybody else find it odd that the only person who can see the similarities is Harry? Nobody else sees it. All right, you guys, you know what to do. Hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. And down in the description box, you'll find the links to my Twitter, Gettr, Rumble, email, a link to my father's book, which is up for sale, a link to my second channel, and a link to my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.